SaySomething. It's like a podcast, but it's a vodcast, so you can listen and watch. It's like news talk or sports talk, but it's life talk, so we can walk the road together. On today's episode, the wonderful Wynter Pitts joins us to chat about all things girls, the ones we're related to and the ones we're friends with. As founder and editor of 4 Girls Like You magazine and a mother of 4 daughters, she has a lot of wisdom to share on the subject. Thanks for joining the conversation.
One thing we wanted to talk about was girls and the pressures that they live under in society today. And by that, it's like girls, I think it starts probably maybe when they're 5 or 6. I don't know what age it is that they become aware of each other and aware of themselves through the eyes of others, but you broadly. And so this was a Gallup poll that was done in 2004, because what happened in 2004 is pretty much what's happening now, which probably was the case 100 years ago and 200 years ago. It just looks different in different decades. But they asked teens, they did a youth survey and asked them, what are the most important problems that you face? And for girls, the most important thing was peer pressure and the issue with things like drugs and alcohol and sex, which according to one is so prolific now in entertainment that it makes it very real in their own lives. And then the other ones that are so interesting and kind of heartbreaking is education is one, like what college they'll go to, because I know that they think that defines them. And bullying is a big one. The cyberbullying is huge for girls. I know it is for guys too. I think we tend to think bullies and boys, but and of course image is front and center. And so this is our friend Wynter Pitts. And Wynter, whether she wants it or not, is an expert in girls.
No.
Because she's one. And she has a lot in her house. God bless Jonathan.
Yeah, I was about to say, should we say the ages of our kids
Yeah,
or
go
make
ahead.
that just so we know,
Yeah.
where we're coming from?
I am in girl world.
Oh, I love it, girl world.
That's what I say all the time. It's just girl world. So my poor husband, but we have a 12-year-old Alina, 9-year-old Caitlin. I have to pause and think about it.
Isn't that the truth? Filling out the forms, the back to school forms are so, it's a killer. You need an assistant.
Like, what
when you
year,
have,
Alina, what year was your
what year
sister
was
born?
that? You don't know my birthday?
So, okay, they're 12. Caitlin is 9, and I have twins that are 7.
Okay.
So we are 7th grade, 4th grade, and 2nd grade.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
Great.
So mine are Larson and Alice, 2nd and 4th, and they love your girls. We've had a couple times to play together since we moved to Dallas, and they're fun girls. So fun.
That is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have 5 kids, and so our bookends are boys. So our age goes 19 to 9, and sandwiched in between are 2 girls. And our girls are 18. It just happened this week. I know, it goes so fast. So I'm going to be the dork that says that. You blink and it's over.
Well, I'm starting to feel that way.
It's
yeah.
true.
We're counting down. 7th grade. We're like, it's really not that much.
It's brutal.
Like, yeah.
I know, I am the geek that in the Target goes to the person with the baby that's screaming, and I'm like, just enjoy it. It goes so fast. And they're like, what?
Then she writes her blog post like,
this lady came up to me. Tell me really so true. And she does have a lot going on, and she has, I know that you process this stuff a lot. And so where do you see it? Like, what are the pressures that you feel like, and what are you doing in your house to maybe counter, put the right message there?
It's so funny because those stats are just loaded. Like, there's so many things happening in those numbers, I think.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things I've seen with having the girls younger is the reason it's starting so much younger. It's a lot to do with the social media, television, commercials.
Yeah.
The shows that are geared towards, our 1st, 2nd graders have middle schoolers in them. So what they're watching.
Okay, so yeah, so like the Nickelodeon, the Disney stuff, it is middle schoolers.
Yeah, it's middle schoolers. And so what they're watching as a 7, 8-year-old are things, and whether or not they're appropriate or not appropriate, they're not necessarily things that 7-year-olds deal with.
Right.
And so what I've seen, because I have a 12-year-old who doesn't necessarily want to watch the things that the 7-year-old
Right,
is
and
watching.
can you blame her?
No.
Yeah.
But then the dilemma is always, okay, we have one television.
Yeah.
Like we're all watching Dora tonight.
Yeah.
But so I'm watching that, and I've seen that kind of happen with my little ones. They just care about things that Alina didn't necessarily care about because she didn't even know they existed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's hard.
It's true. I always say that, especially for, that 10, maybe even 9 now, it starts a little younger, but that like middle ground, they're no longer interested in singing vegetables or the the things that we could feed them before. They just don't want it. But then the next step is teenagers, or there's this middle place that we aren't necessarily designing things for them. We're just pushing them up to the next thing.
Well, when you look at the clothing stores, I feel like there's just
exactly.
that gap between they're in little girl clothes, and then all of a sudden it's like, here,
They
just
look
like mom.
women. Right, exactly.
Right.
Like, actually, I want that.
Yeah, totally.
Well, yeah.
I think one of the things we agree on, and we talk about this a lot, because we become friends, and we met doing kind of ministry together. We were having tables. We were with Dot Mom, I guess. It was a mom conference, and she had a table, and she was exhibiting her new magazine.
I didn't know what I was doing.
For Girls Like You, and I'm like, hey, what's that? And I have my little scripture cards, and we kind of talk during the break, because all the people leave, and so we start talking about our stuff. And we just realized we had a lot of things in common, and our desires were the same for our girls. We were like, yes, our girls are young. Yes, we don't know what we're doing, but we feel like we want to get in the game, and we want to do anything we can to help our kids know that God's truth is bigger than all these problems and help them navigate. And it's not to say we want to shadow them or pull them into a bubble that they won't experience any of this, because all of our kids may very well drink. Yeah. All of our kids may have all this peer pressure or bullying, all the things that you mentioned. But it's like, what can we do on the front end? How early can we start by surrounding them with great messages from their mom and dad, moments as families, moments that just shore up their foundation in a way that they're not as easily rocked or pounded down by waves.
I think that's part of it, and probably a great reason why both of you are here, because it's a big deal to be able to help your kids know how to navigate and handle before they reach something. Yeah. Because when I see the both of you, that's what I see you all doing, purposely trying to think ahead and help them with very real, practical tools to be able to meet it. And that's where, tell us a little bit about your magazine, because it's terrific.
Thank you.
I know, it really actually is.
It's funny, I guess it's For Girls Like You is the magazine, and I started it, and I think I had just started it when we met, because I was there trying to figure out what I was doing. But I started it for this reason, because Alina, my oldest, she was at that place where we ordered some little magazines for the kids, I thought all the kids, and she took it and was reading it to her little sisters as if it was like for the babies. And she was me, and I was and I watched her, and she was having fun doing it, but I was watching her, and I was just like, she's not really interested in the cartoon characters, or she just wasn't interested in it. And so I was just trying to figure out, okay, what can I do for her? Like, what can I give her? Went online to Google and tried to find it. Just something that, would still be appropriate and good for her, but didn't necessarily have, bubble eyes and, that it looks like real people.
Magazine.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the problem was I found one magazine that was, and I ordered it because it was age appropriate, and I ordered it, but then it didn't have anything about boys, and it was the mix. It didn't have boy quizzes and all that friendship drama, and it didn't have any cartoon characters and things, but it was full of fashion, and it was just showing her Gucci, and it was just all this stuff that I was kind of like, well, wait a minute, that's not it either, she's 7 or 6 at the time, and so I just thought, and I had a lot of friends with girls. And I just thought, you know what, and we had been doing the girl stuff together, the mommy and me, we were in gymnastics together at school, so we were all in the same place. And so I was like, you know what, I'll just create a little something. I don't want to lose her, thinking that this stuff is for her sisters, and then what's for me,
Right.
And I just didn't want to lose her, and so I just thought, I'll just make something for her and her little friends. It can be a little book club, but I'll just, bring in some clip art, but make it look like what she likes, so... At the time, she was really into fashion, so we did, a whole thing, an article on Converse, the history of Converse, the colors that they have now, how they started Chuck Taylors, what I mean? That kind of a thing that she was interested in. And then I thought, I had a friend that was a missionary, so I was like, well, let's teach her about some things that are happening around the world, let's put that in there. And then just little things, and she liked quizzes. I just didn't want them to be, which boy do you like, or is this not frenemy, or, it was just So I don't remember what the first quiz was, but I put a little quiz together and put it in there. And I just thought, and I was working really hard on it, and I thought, I'll give it to her and her friends. And as I was doing it, my husband just, I was up like just late, middle of the night, and he's like, what are you doing?
Isn't that so true? Because I think we all.
Oh, yeah. They're
it's
like, what are you up to now?
You're sitting with the serial entrepreneurs, and then mine's always like, and he's like, how much money is
Well, that was his question, because once I had it, and he kept saying, like, okay, what are you doing with it? And I was like, I'm just going to give it to Alina and some of her friends. And then eventually he was like,
his friends like, go in.
He did just say, babe, we can't pay for, like, how are we going to print this? And what and I was like, well,
I made it that far. But you're good.
God's going to provide. Yeah. And he did. Like, God just kind of stepped in. Kickstarter was just starting at the time.
So did you do a Kickstarter?
I did a Kickstarter campaign. And it was kind of, we didn't know what we were doing. It was the first time. It was brand new, like Kickstarter was. And so, and I put like a little budget that I thought, like, if I could just print, a couple of copies to just kind of, and I'd offer like I don't remember what it was, a t-shirt, maybe something.
What year was it?
Alina's 12. So maybe 2000.
Yeah, so that was when printing
actually
cost a lot then too.
Yeah, so it probably started right around then.
Yeah.
So printing was a lot.
It was so much more expensive than it is now too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, God, even at every little piece of it, I can just see God now, because at the time, like the church that we go to had a print shop, and so it wasn't the best quality, but they would print it, and I wouldn't have to buy like a ton of upfront money.
Right.
So just little things that made it work, and anyway, that's how it all started because of that. Like, I just wanted to catch her.
Does it come out quarterly?
It comes out quarterly.
Okay.
And we're still just trucking along with that part of it. And Alina now because that's for younger, like 6 to 11, because I really wanted to catch them before these things, and not to avoid some of the things that were coming, but just to give them a strong foundation in support of you can handle these things, but this is who you are, and this is how you handle them God's way. And there are other little girls, so we always feature other little girls, because there are other girls like you that are going through the exact same thing, and you don't need to want to be a 17-year-old. Like,
what I love is I can say the same thing. I can say, Ella, I want to talk to you about generosity, and she's like, okay, cool. Another lecture from Mom. What I've learned is that if I can show her Lena and her experience or her story or the quiz, gosh, she's so much more receptive to another girl or another voice or even Wynter. I think y'all are way cooler than I am.
No, I don't think it's that. I think it's that.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. Finally, the truth has come out.
Dun, dun, dun.
But I think that for them, they feel like they're alone. That I mean, you're the mean mom. Right. My parents are so mean.
Nobody
Our
else
house is
like,
so boring.
Yeah.
And then they realize they're not the only one, and it actually feels so much better.
Yeah.
Which probably is a big part of it too. You're not alone. I think that's one of the themes that keeps airing its head. Where is your self-worth? Where are you finding that?
So true.
You're not alone. It's walking the road together. Okay, so tell just quickly. I know we're gonna
get to these too, but
I know, and we're gonna put on where to get, like, how to connect to the magazine. But were you saying that you're now moving to another one since she's older and past?
No,
11?
I was gonna say she is being that. She's pouring into, so she writes articles now for the magazine.
Oh, I love it.
And we always have little girls that write, but it's the same thing. They like to see somebody that looks older than them and makes them feel like they're big girls.
Yeah.
And so she's serving as that, like because she's 12, but I trust what she's saying because she's right there, and I'm looking. We're walking this together, but she can speak to a way that little girls can relate to and they like to see her face next to it versus or any little girls like that. But so it's just been neat that it started for her, and now she's kind of come full circle and is the one writing a lot of the articles.
And now both of you are writing a book together.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, I guess I have to go all the way back because Alina.
Yes, I was about to say.
Every question is just loaded. Right?
Yeah.
Alina plays a little girl in War Room. The movie came out last fall. Christian film, Kendrick Brothers. She plays Danielle Jordan, the little jump rope girl in War Room. So that happened. I don't know if you have questions about that later, but she, and so whatever, that was that. And so we've just been trying to figure out, okay, Lord, like, what are you doing? Because he's given her just a platform. She's never been she's not an actress, has not wanted to be an actress. I guess she is now. But so just kind of like, okay, God, what are you doing with her life? And I'm kind of hands up, just like, Lord, like, this is clearly your work. What are you doing? Yeah.
One of the questions I have for you about her and about your girls, because you also write devotionals, which I'll tell you about how that's impacted my
Here
girls.
is the devotionals.
Yeah, that was the
Okay.
first one she came out. But here's the question I have about faith. And I know that you won't proclaim you're an expert, but I feel like for you and I, and all three of us that are really intentional about having faith be a part of our family, how have you seen you and Jonathan, how have you seen you and Jonathan be more of a coach and let faith be their own discovery versus be a teacher and say, hey, sit down, we're going to go through this devotional and then we're going to discuss it? Because that's a delicate balance, I feel like, with my girls, to say, Lord, I trust you. I don't feel like I see growth in her right now, but I know you're working.
Yeah.
And when do you say, no, I'm going to consistently keep bringing them truth and talking about it? So how do you do that, especially with how many girls you have?
For us, it's a balance. And so there are, like, we never stop feeding truth. I mean, it's just constantly, like, and it sounds as so like we're raising those kids that are going to be like, my mother always quoted, just.
Yeah, and it will be. I know.
Yeah.
Mine,
But it's also what Jonathan and I say about our parents. And so we're like, we're doing this. So we have devotional, family devotions. It's chaos. I mean, we've got 4 kids. Jonathan, I'm much more like, let's do a little song. And, and Jonathan's like, well, here's my, theology book that I'm reading right now. And this is, which I think you need the balance of all of it. But then there's also just things that we do that it's not just us teaching them, but it's just a part of it's just our life. Mm-hmm. So whether we're serving, somewhere at church, or we're inviting friends over, or how we handle our friendships, we just are very much like, this is just who we are. Like, it's not just us reading the Bible to you,
right.
but like mommy and daddy are living it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're just trusting that God's word is God's word. And so he'll do the rest. Like, we just create the environment.
That's great.
And then just let him do the rest. And so it's been neat, because there's sometimes, especially now that she's 12, if she ever sees this, Lena, I love you so much. But there's some days that I'm kind of like, is this working? Like, what is happening right now? But then I'll go in her room after everybody's gone to bed, and I found her in her closet reading her Bible. So just little things that I'm just kind of like, okay, Lord, like, you really have this. Like, if I just continue to just lay it before your feet and just work on creating the environment, feeding her truth, but then really just still do my relationship with God.
Yes, and I was asking you before you got here, just imagine the stories, just alone, like there's not many of us that would say, I want my child to be an actor, or put them into the pressures of all that, but I can't even imagine how she saw God work. I mean, I saw War Room, and I could feel like the impact that movie had, just sitting there in the audience. I can imagine just through the whole process what y'all seen, and just having your own family, your whole family, be a part of that experience, because I know you have extended family that's part of that role too. You want to tell them how you're related to Priscilla, or is that
Priscilla and I are cousins? No.
Okay. Is that secret?
No, Priscilla.
if she tells you,
Yes,
she'll have to
don't
kill
tell
you.
anyone.
But,
tell anyone.
It's all coming out.
But we're cousins.
Okay.
So Dr. Tony Evans and my father are brothers.
Okay.
And so that whole...
So I bet it just made it even more special.
It was very special. But honestly, what made it the most special was just that the Kendrick brothers, they're movie directors and producers, but really they are disciples in ministry. You know what I mean? So they were making a movie, but it was what we're saying. It was just life. Mm-hmm. I mean, to the movie set, nothing was going to start. No film was going to roll until they opened their Bible and we prayed as a cast and crew, to families, everybody together. And so that just made it more, even for Alina, that, this is like real life. Like, this is not just, we say these words, but like, they're people that are living, that live it, and are really doing it. And I think, and then the testimonies that have come back from the movie have just blown.
So cool.
And I talk about it as if it's not our life, because it really feels like, wow, God. Like, you know what I mean? The testimonies were just like, what? And even now, it's a year old, and people are still God's just doing amazing work through that movie. So.
I don't know.
I wanted to share, we had a conversation yesterday about beauty and how it's not just our little girls and just about women. And so I'm leading Ella's class and her other class. They go to a small school, so the 2 4th grade girl classes. So about 24 girls. Once a month, and a thing I'm calling Treasure Tribes, but we're just going once a month through some things, because I was seeing the cattiness and the girl, like, clubby, like, you can all be my friend, some of that jabby stuff going on in 3rd grade already, and I was like, no.
Kindergarten.
So I'm like, so 4th grade, I'm like, we're just going to meet and just go ahead and get some stuff out there to show you you're not alone, and here's how we're going to not erase all these things, but we're going to hopefully handle it a little better as a class. And just bond as a group of moms, and so it's mother-daughter and a group of daughters. And so we're meeting, and one of the illustrations I gave them in the first meeting, we were talking about how God uniquely made you. And it's a Christian school, so we can talk about this stuff. But I think this goes across the board, regardless of your faith. But I asked them to draw one of the most beautiful places they've ever been. And so a lot of them drew the most beautiful beach they'd ever seen, the blue waters and the thing. And then another girl, 3 of them drew Colorado. I'm like, oh, apparently all the Texans go to Colorado for their breaks, but they drew mountains and they drew rivers and things. And I said, when y'all are there in those places, you're not thinking about what it doesn't have. You're not thinking in Colorado, you know, that you need the ocean, that, gosh, I wish there was a cool breeze. You're thinking about just the wonder and the beauty of how God created that place so special. Mm-hmm. And I told them, I'm like, that's how we look at you. That's how your parents and God looks at you. We are not looking at you going, I really wish I had curly hair, or man, if you were a little taller. Like, we're just seeing, like, wow. And so I feel like that's how we look at each other, this, like, skinny mirror. We're like, man, you, like, we see the very best of each other. And then when we look at ourselves, we're like, we just start making this list of where we don't add up. And we're just not designed to be everything, to have all that.
And I'm glad you brought that, because I do think in this road of navigating kids, I mean, I know we're talking about girls, but I'm just telling you, boys feel the exact same. It's just people and humans. But what I hear you saying is kind of recognizing it in yourself,
right? And
being friends enough with each other. And it's kind of where you were going to earlier about where you find your identity and just living it. Yes. And so I think if we can feel that way, where we're secure in ourselves, encouraging each other, that it naturally comes out to the kids and maybe can help them walk that road too. But it's a challenge because in this environment that is so heated with competition, especially in parenting and one-upping and being in the right carpool and being on the right teams and all those kinds of things, it can make everyone, even the mothers, go kind of guard their information, lest you might find out and their kid be not included, those kinds of things. And there's got to be kind of I don't know, it's helpful if there's a pact, we're going to talk about this, we're not, but just know that you can. And that's what I've noticed with my girls, that there are safe places to do that and not safe places to do that, but welcome to the world. I mean, not everyone is a safe place to navigate the truly authentic, raw waters with, because it's going to hurt on the other side. And so I think that's a lot of our role, is helping them do what you are doing, and that is navigate it in a way with their eyes open, with their heart in the best place possible, knowing full well that our hearts are fickle. Mine is. I'm fickle to myself pretty much from when I get up. You know, I don't mean to be, and I hope it's shorter and shorter lived.
Totally. And that's what I think I was telling them, and you may see this with your own girls, is to say, it is totally natural for you to feel jealous. Like, my girls get jealous of each other all the time. And I'm like, then what are you going to do with that? So that's what I was telling those 4th graders, to say, when you see someone winning the spelling bee, or you see someone dancing, like, it's probably totally natural that you're going to feel jealous, but it's okay that they're a faster runner. So can you choose to celebrate them? And can you go, when you're not a cheerleader, to the cheerleading banquet? Or can you go to the spelling bee and sit in the audience and be there for your friends? And so we're just working with them on, like, not adding to a perfect class, but saying, like, this is all stuff you're going to start dealing with, and this is going to go all the way through the high school. And I had them write down like through 40s. But I had them write a list of, like, what do you, because every class, you know, has a reputation. So they're the class.
It does?
Like, if you ask any high school teacher.
The grade.
Okay. Ask any high school teacher, like, oh, they're the class that's this. They're the class that's always whatever. Yeah. So I had them write on a scroll, like, what do you want to be known for? Like,
that's good.
And so
like, as a grade.
And we're going to just keep going back to that. Like, and so they wrote the most amazing
so happy.
stuff.
I bet everybody's so happy you're
Well, I mean, they're over me. We've only just begun. But I just think this is the things, not to have unrealistic expectations, but stuff like this, Wynter, helps me have these conversations with my girls, to say, you're not alone.
I was going to say, well, that's the point. So I'm glad to hear that, because honest, like, when even the magazine, the devotionals, I always say, I'm just like, their conversations and things, like, probably about 85% of those devotionals were literally written from around my table during our devotion time, or during our, bedtime thing. It's just things that we were already talking about, they were dealing with, and then I was just like, here we are, let's share it. Maybe somebody else is, and not sharing it as in it's telling their personal stories, but just kind of like, if this is what my girls are going through, I have 4 of them, so I've got a good little small group or whatever right there.
What do they call that? Like a test?
A little test group.
So
just focus group.
A focus group. That's what it is. You've got an excellent focus group.
So I just feel like if we're going through that, then I'm just praying that other moms or mentors, whoever can pick it up and relate and see the same thing that their girls are going through and dealing with. And it's, I just want them to not feel alone and know that, like, what you're saying, like, it's not abnormal.
Yeah.
Like, it's not abnormal, but there is a right way to handle it, a healthy way to handle it, a Christ-like way to handle it, and then just a not.
Yeah.
So here we are, this is what.
And I think, tell me, you're past us in some of these seasons, but do you feel like you've given
Just go ahead and say it.
You're so much older than us.
She was thinking it.
No.
It was the gray.
I was trying to say that you're so much wiser.
I was going to say wisdom, but then I was like, I don't know if that helps.
This is called Central Expressway. With a brand new 15-year-old driver that instantly got on the HOV at 5 o'clock traffic.
All right, those are the things I'm going to pass off to Ron. Like, I already know.
It's
I will not be the
horrifying.
one that teaches them to drive.
People
Driving
talk about
the
Terrible
bathroom.
Tuesday.
Right.
Do not talk about the driving. It's BAD.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know about you,
All right, sorry.
but I like to preach to my kids, and I'm watching, and I even say less lectures, more laughter. So I know this. I know that I need to zip it and just let them ask questions and just go, what do you think? And so when I do that more often with your devotionals and other stuff, and I just like let the topic go out there and just go, have you ever seen that at school? Have you ever had that? And they let them talk. It's so much better.
Which they like to do.
They need to do.
They need to.
But
it's like I have to like go, Courtney, hush. Let them have airspace. Let them have breathing room to just ponder it and not have to tie it up in a neat bow.
As you're saying that, I have noticed that it's a balance for me, and I'm trying to figure it out because I always live by the insert myself into her world. Like, so if she's been in her room for whatever, like, which is fine. I'm a kind of a loner introvert, like, and I get it sometimes. We've got little ones that are a lot less mature than our oldest one. And so sometimes it's okay. But I always just make sure after a little while, I'm just peeking in.
Yeah.
Just, I'm just going to lay across the bed with you. Or I'm just going to rub your, hey, do you need anything? Because I'm helping everybody else. I don't want her to feel alone.
Yeah.
So even though she needs her alone time, she doesn't really even understand what's going on, And so, so just making sure that, like, it's okay that you're trying to figure this out, but I just want you to know I'm still here, like, I'm still here. Like, it's
Which
okay.
I love what you said, because I do think one of the biggest things they're looking for that is just, and maybe we all are, maybe tween teen kids wear it just out, ugly and out, and we cover it
how to
up.
hide it yet.
Right, but it is that, do I belong? Am I
Yes.
loved? Am I accepted? And I don't think that they realize that belonging in their family actually is belonging. And I know.
Well, I think it goes back to the stats too. Like, it just leads back to, I think, the more that they're searching for, there are things in our world that are going to give it to them. It's just whether or not it's what we want them to have.
Right.
So because they're searching, they're trying to figure out, like, where do they belong? Like, am I valuable? Am I just as good as so and so that sit next to you?
Yeah.
Am I am I this? Am I that? And so they're looking for that. So if we aren't feeding them that, somebody's going to give them that answer.
Yeah.
And so, and I know we're still young and figuring it out, but I'm just going to try my hardest to be the source, not the source, because we got God. But I'm going to be. I don't know anybody. But I'm just going to work my hardest to make sure that I'm the one feeding her the information and the who she is, like, based on truth, because otherwise they're not going to go without it. They're going to get it, but it's just going to lead to this, and we're going to be like,
Well, I hear that you are doing a load of love. And I sometimes I think we forget that really the most important thing is loving them. And then knowing that they're loved. And sometimes love looks like hard things, but love looks like never going away. And that I love you no matter what. And I don't know why it's like they have the thickest heads, and it's so hard to hear it. And then I think I know exactly why, because I have the thickest head, and I have the hardest time hearing it. And so it's beautiful, Wynter, what you're doing. And I just can't thank you enough for going off your harebrained idea that your husband's so fully supported.
Totally.
It really has. I mean, it's beautiful.
Ella has been going through a season where she just keeps saying, Larson is your favorite child. Larson is your favorite child. And we've been in this cycle.
Let me ask you first, is it because Larson had the tooth fairy? Or is it because...
No. We're in a season where, so Ella's older. Ella's not as collapsible in my lap. Larson's teeny, always all over me. And Larson's hilarious. So, like, constantly, like, cracking us up. So we get this cycle where Ella's pushing my buttons. I'm angry. She's misbehaving. She's in trouble. Larson's just cute, funny, in my lap, obeying.
Yeah.
So this went on for a long time, and I'm like, oh.
Try that
So
with
I'm
twins.
like, right. So like, well, if you would just like obey, basically, we'll all get along here. But I knew that I had to be the one to break it. So I'm like, okay. So I just made a decision, and I was like, she needs your love. Like she is not feeling loved. I'm like, oh, this is her fault. She's disobeyed. So I just like started like literally doting on her. And so I got in bed one night with her and was laying there for a long time, like petting her, talking. She goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh my word!" So I kept
I'm loving
you. Why is
What
it
do
so
you want?
weird?
What are you
You
gonna ask me
guys,
for?
so I
This
kept
is
doing
love.
it. I kept going, looking across from the room and said, "Ella, come over here. I want you to snuggle with me." And she'd look, and then she'd run for it. And so I feel like then they get bigger, they still want it, and they still want you like grabbing back and reaching for their leg. And y'all, it didn't take but like a week, and my kid was different.
Yeah.
Like she's not perfect, but she was different. She was smiling at me more. She was more gentle with her sister.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, girls. Okay, this conversation could go on forever. And so, to be continued, Wynter Pitts. I'm really not kidding because this
Come
is
over.
fun, and I think we could talk about a lot more. And we might rope you.
Pumpkin bread.
Yeah, we might rope you into this thing yet.
Bring pumpkin bread, and we'll show up all the
I'll
time.
be here.
Yes.
This is great. Thank you.
All right, thanks for joining the conversation.